there was one article that I knew that I would probably want to talk about this morning, and it is United Methodist Rift with the Gideons. It was published on Juicy Ecumenism, which is the IRD's blog, by a writer named Wyatt Flicker, and I don't know this guy. But here's what he says. The longstanding relationship between the Gideons International and the United Methodist Church has reached a breaking point following the UMC's General Conference. That conference saw the denomination abandon its commitment to traditional Christian sexual ethics, thereby destroying a century-long bond with the Gideons, who now will cease cooperation with the United Methodist congregations who endorse same-sex marriage. As the UMC shifts its stance on doctrinal issues, it finds itself at odds with the Gideons and its other historic partners who remain steadfast in their adherence to biblical principles. So this is something that we saw in the comments of a number of videos that I put out in the wake of the UMC's General Conference. Many people connected with the Gideons were writing, we don't really know if we can gladly participate in this ministry of spreading God's word through the United Methodist Church. It seems quite clear that the United Methodist Church, even if we put Bibles in there, won't let the Bible speak to them. That conference, we're back to the article, saw the denomination abandon its... wait. I think I already read that. The Gideons International is an organization of Christian businessmen responsible for distributing more than 70 million Bibles annually to prisons, military installations, and most iconically, hotels. Founded in 1899, the Gideons have produced over 2 billion Bibles and are among the most prolific Bible distribution ministries on the planet. The Gideons also record testimonies of those who credit their salvation with chancing across a Gideon Bible in a time of dire need. And this does happen frequently. It's been a very fruitful ministry. The relationship between the Gideons and the Methodists stretches back to the beginnings of the Gideons ministry. Since the first years of the Gideons, when the organization was small and restricted to the Midwest, Methodist churches were used to hold meetings. When Teddy Roosevelt was elected an honorary Gideon at the 1901 convention, he was elected at a Methodist church. Wherever the Gideons have gone, they have always had the enthusiastic support of the Methodists. This is a history that I'm not sure a lot of people know about, but once upon a time, Methodism was known for being a biblically orthodox body in the United States, and so that slowly fell apart over time, but even so, the Gideons had a lot of patience for that. Well, maybe he'll say that in the article. This ministry is not merely Methodist by accident. The vigorous propagation of the word is quintessentially Wesleyan. Where modern liberal Christians squirm at the Gideons' biblicism, Wesley would have delighted, labeling himself in his journal as a Bible bigot. As an etymological note, bigot in Wesley's time was a term of abuse for the excessively pious. Thus, the Bible printing mission of the Gideons is a natural complement to Wesley's theological legacy. To be a member of the Gideons, one must be an adult man and conform to a set of spiritual beliefs that are entirely uncontroversial for the most biblical Christians. Among these requisites is the commitment to the biblical standard of marriage being between one biblical man and biological man and one biological woman. The Gideons International uses assent to its fundamental spiritual beliefs as a condition for collaboration in denominational ministries. I think what that means is they have to agree that you're a biblical church in order to partner with you in producing Bibles with you, and so this don't work no more. After this year's General Conference, when the UMC abandoned its commitment to Christian sexual morality, the UMC's relationship with the Gideons has been strained. Gideon Sunday has long been a target for progressives in the church who take issue with the Gideons' commitment to biblical inerrancy and solely male membership. Women are welcome into Gideon's auxiliary, but the gender issue has proven a helpful wedge to justify disassociation by progressive pastors. Many more liberal jurisdictions have quietly disinvited Gideon speakers from their parishes this year, closing ranks around the gay marriage issue and distancing from organizations that hold to traditional Christian teaching on the matter. So we're seeing not just the Gideons spacing themselves away from the United Methodist Church, but the UMC taking issue with biblical literalism and male headship and estranging themselves. So it's a mutual discomfort with one another, where a lot of these market forces work themselves out and you don't have to have official pronouncements or anything. And indeed, it doesn't seem there's been any official pronouncement here. This is just the author noticing a trend that is surely the case. But yeah, the strength and the weakness of gender segregated organizations is they're gender segregated, and people who want for every single sphere of life to be integrated, co-ed, are going to have a problem with that. The antipathy between the UMC and the Gideons is mutual. Okay, yeah, I anticipated what he said. Currently, the Gideons have not blanketly disaffiliated from churches due to sympathy for congregations who could not afford to exit the denomination. Rather, the Gideons have adopted a case-by-case standard for continued involvement with UMC churches, but they have not retreated from their firm opposition to same-sex marriage or non-celibate homosexual leadership. Collaboration with the UMC churches will require conversations with pastors to ensure that traditional sexual ethics are held. Faithful churches trapped in the UMC are thus still permitted to collaborate with the Gideons, conditioned on their repudiation of same-sex marriage and non-celibate LGBT clergy. So I wonder how many churches are willing to make statements like that to get to maintain this relationship. Despite the Gideons' willingness to exercise mercy towards individual congregations, as they report to Juicy Ecumenism, quote, most UMC churches will be ineligible moving forward from today, end quote. Given the UMC's doubling down on LGBT issues, this likely spells the end of the Gideons' collaboration with the UMC writ large in the foreseeable future. The Gideons ministry will continue with or without the UMC. Gideon Sunday remains a traditional global Methodist, conservative, Lutheran, Baptist, and other denominations that have maintained their commitment to historic Christian teachings. The UMC's General Conference decisions have not only cost the denomination a quarter of its churches, but also dislocate the UMC from its own traditions in real time. For the past 3 years, the UMC has used the hashtag BUMC as a slogan, but its decisions at General Conference have made the authentic practice of United Methodism as historically conceived nearly impossible. In the interest of contemporary politics, the church claiming John Wesley's mantle, whose devotion to the Bible was so intense that he described himself as, quote, a man of one book, end quote, has now ostracized one of the largest organizations propagating God's word. And of course, that is the scandal of this present moment, is that in the name of not just John Wesley, but the first generations of people called Methodist would not recognize the United Methodist Church as a legitimately Methodist or Wesleyan denomination. It's so far from its roots that it really is just a bastardized, counterfeit caricature. Not even a caricature, just like a very bad copy, an embarrassment. They're a fulfillment of what John Wesley said he was afraid of happening, where they leave the doctrine and discipline and spirit of the original movement behind, and all that's left is an empty husk. And yeah, with this rhetoric of openness and inclusion and bringing everybody in, what you find is everybody's running for the doors. So that's the really sad irony of the United Methodist Church, is their rhetoric not only doesn't match what's happening on the ground, but it's the opposite of it. So it's this real disjointed, dysfunctional thing that they've done.